Alright, welcome to the start of something, and you're not gonna see that much for the time being, just this, might as well. This is the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, generously provided by Deji for my birthday. So I said, let's try to, put it to good use already with one of the games that immediately caught my attention to it. The beat 'em up based on the Punisher that Capcom released in 1993. It's actually pretty cool. Don't bother, the English version and Japanese version are practically identical. If I recall correctly, there's nothing censored, so we might as well just play the English version.
I'm guessing the Japanese version has Japanese text instead.
Yeah. You would say. Also, this is sadly another game, but it can only be used in the United States of America. So what can I say?
Canada.
I'm a maverick.
Oh, I
you can play it in Canada.
I noticed you're using the arcade screen filter.
It's the default one. I did not bother to change it.
Okay, basically
wallpaper.
Well, I'll wait till there's a time where I can explain that.
I can also be because the marquee serves to actually showcase the controls. We will see actually, different type of the artwork and of the making of in the next part. And the controls, being a beat 'em up, are actually relatively simple. But honestly, I argue, as you will be able to see, this is honestly one of the easiest beat 'em ups I've ever played. But honestly, because of that, it's just that much fun, to the point where you can even regulate the difficulty. There you go, to the map from 0 to 8. So I chose what it will be the arcade standard 5, with 3 initial lives, 1 that you can gain at there you go, at that kind of threshold. There are technically infinite continues, but as you can see, I will not really use them that much. It will be the equivalent of spending like $2 in terms of quarters. So.
Well, to be fair, I mean, in these collections, if you have infinite credits, of course you're going to be able to just power through the game.
You
anyway.
literally have to put a coin in the disc slots.
All right. Yeah, basically, these collections with old arcade games have filters that simulates how the actual screens of arcade cabinets were. However, I personally prefer to play with those filters off to look at the graphics the way they were actually made. So.
Capcom system.
Yeah, there's basically your leaderboard.
When you look at Digital Eclipse collection,
all right,
have these filters.
You're about to get out, Weebs.
Okay.
Go on.
New York, a jungle of steel and concrete, where players of all kinds mercilessly play on all, anytime, anywhere. Capitol Park, an oasis of green offering respite from the gray. Here, U.S. Marine Captain Frank Castle enjoys a picnic with his family. On that day, the Castle family accidentally discovered a brutal mob killing, fearing any witnesses the killers gunned down the hapless family. On that day, Frank Castle's family died. On that day, Frank Castle died. On that day, I was born to avenge them and all others like them. I am the Punisher. If you're guilty, you're dead.
It's like that Chronoa, from.
And if you're not guilty, you're also dead.
Oh, Nick Fury is in this game.
It's white Nick Fury, however, Drova.
And he's the OG Nick Fury.
Anyway, for starters, if you listen clearly to the music, it might sound a bit familiar. That's because Yoko Shimomura is the main composer of this game, and I honestly...
Oh, remember, she was at Capcom at the time.
Yes, but I genuinely underestimated her, because I have to be honest, Vega's theme doesn't really sound like she actually made it. It sounds so different from her usual style. So I was always thinking that it was with Squaresoft that she actually, refined her capacity with Live Alive, Super Mario RPG, and of course Legend of Mana eventually. But no, it was present already in some capacity here. I could easily just copy-paste this music, into a Legend of Mana, and it would basically be the same. What's going on back there? The Punisher!
You can run, but you can't hide.
Oh yeah, by the way, we expected the full course of a Punisher. So anyway, I started blasting.
Yep.
Oh, you're gonna take the glimpse.
So this is the Punisher if I wrote him.
Basically, here's the gist of it. The Punisher
works
works
in
two
chicken.
different...
I didn't know we were in Castlevania.
Again, classic beat 'em up Jova logic. Also Doggo.
I can tell this was probably made by the same team that made Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
More like God, I forgot the name.
The X-Men arcade?
No, well, maybe that too. Jova, remind me again. The Final Fight, there you go.
Yes,
I was more thinking about that. anyway, it works on two different layers. You have the standard beat 'em up, you beats and punches with different combinations. You have like a dash attack, a spin attack, a layered equivalent that consumes part of your health, dynamic entrance.
You're finished now, Bruno.
Score a game!
Sure.
And yeah, use your first boss, the Scully. If I recall correctly, this is a game original. Don't worry, we will actually see comic book-based character. Yeah, you can kind of tell that this game was actually made with some degree of love for the source material, because, the character's appearance, even with the artwork and the sprites, do very reflect the designs that they had back then. Capcom, the people at Capcom really were very passionate about it.
Oh, God. I'm fighting Professor Xavier if he didn't have his wheelchair.
But anyway, got off the scream that he does. What are you? What was I saying? Yeah, there you go. The second part of the beat of gameplay comes if any enemy with a gun shows up on screen. The Punisher immediately whips up his pistol and starts blasting. You have infinite ammo, and it's very basically to balance things out, because otherwise the enemy will start shooting at you. So it tries to innovate a bit the formula by having the shooting component, to spruce between that and the traditional, kicks and punches.
I suppose they don't have the typical, victory posing that Capcom
No,
era used to.
But the end of the stage happens after it. Believe so?
Tell me where your boss is.
Personal kill me at Castle Punta Verde, Florida.
Time to travel south.
Thanks and goodbye.
The Punisher, a gentle soul.
The only way to get into that castle would be via the drain pipe at the swimming pool.
Yes, game. I
It's
played the
that
Metal Gear
big.
Solid.
Bruno won't escape me this time. Because I'm the Punisher and I'm constantly angry.
He's referring to Bruno Costa, the mob that supposedly ordered the hit that killed Frank's family.
Yeah.
This was before Punisher Purgatory, when he was reckoned that Bruno was apparently a demon called I forgot his name. Go on,
Yeah, because for what I understand, the Punisher, while he's filled with vengeance, isn't normally this angry 100% of the time. Seriously, he walks around with a scowl on his face the whole game.
To be fair,
Very angry.
I think we're sort of playing through what's more or less a bit of an origin story.
His initial years, basically.
So to be fair, I absolutely get him being that bad. Also, holy cow.
Yeah, the female ninjas, surprisingly enough, no Joe, there's no Typhoid Mary in this, despite that. Kind of a waste of opportunity.
I'll say.
They technically can be more agile, they can perform the spinning blade or, the projectile technique.
And they're apparently so flexible that they can literally rotate their heads a full 180 degrees.
There you go. Again, you can exploit the gun section by deliberately, withholding shooting the enemies with guns, so you can focus on enemies that otherwise would try to get up close and personal. Yes, you can feel. Also, a portrait of a Kingpin. I wonder.
How nice of those ladies to leave us slices of pizza.
Also, you have your special attack, which is a grenade. You have to jump and in midair press both the attack and jump button. The Punisher is basically not necessarily a screen nuke, but it inflicts a lot of damage and stuns everyone. So there's that. Also, there are quite a couple of unconventional weapons, like axes and mullets like this.
You could have just opened the door,
I don't die so easily.
Time for justice.
However...
what the? Bruno! Oh, that was my job.
Gaga, I've been programmed by the Kingpin to terminate you.
So,
What
yeah.
the fuck?
So,
The guard droid.
so yeah, Bruno's dead, but let's fight a robot.
This is a game creation. You can kind of tell because Capcom loved back then to put all these kinds of robots in their games. I can also
Ladies
see
and gentlemen, the dark, gritty world of the Punisher.
I can kind of see a bit of Vector Man influence because of all the different joints that move in that kind of way.
Okay, one thing to remember, Dwibs. Dark, gritty, and whatnot, it's still the Marvel Universe. You want to know what else was going on around the 90s? The Clone Saga.
Among many other things. Thor was not Thor anymore, but called himself Thunderstrike, and that was very, very bad.
Good lord. And yet, I will say
How did he
this.
call himself that?
It's a long story. He did not have his hammer anymore because
The 90s.
Yeah, the Dark Age.
Oh.
And there you go. The character that arrives in the continuous credit is called Microchip. If you've seen the Punisher movies, Blibs, so he shows up in a couple of them. He's basically
Yeah,
a
I think
supporting.
in Warzone he was played by Wayne Knight.
He's a supporting character from for the Punisher, traditional type of nerd that provides a kind of a mission control and helps the Punisher by locating targets and stuff like that. It's kind of like what Weasel was as a parody, in relation to Deadpool. Was part of the joke. And yeah, the more you hit the gargoyle, the more parts he loses. There you go.
Well done. The Punisher defeated
I got a
owl.
robot.
But
The only
hey.
thing that I really wish this version had was Ori in the Blind Forest. Someone is playing.
Kingpin. I knew he was behind all of this.
Oh, I guess he's not too sore about losing his chance to kill Bruno.
There's a major drug deal going down at the harbor tonight.
So let's assume he just went from Florida back all the way to New York.
There's a chance for me to blow them out of the water.
That
Does the Punisher constantly... Okay, yeah, again, does the Punisher constantly do these weird one-liners?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
At least back when this game was out, yes, he used to do it. It was with, I think Garth Ennis run where they tried to make it more seriously. Again, it was right after the aforementioned run where, small story where the Punisher was turned into an angel of death. Again, don't ask, So Garth Ennis was basically called in to fix all of that, and he basically did a U-turn and made the Punisher run that he worked on much more gritty, a bit like kind of what Frank Miller did for Daredevil back in the 80s. And it did prove to be successful, so he must have got something right.
Now-
I just don't particularly care about Garth Ennis' usual style, but the Punisher kind of fits more what he wants to do.
Yeah,
Now, I should specify this one thing. While Punisher is definitely, ideally known for his 90s run, that was not his debut. The Punisher started, stop me if you heard this before, originating from the Spider-Man comics in the 70s, actually.
It was a one-shot mercenary villain hired, I think, by the Kingpin.
The Jackal, actually,
to kill.
I think.
Oh, the Jack. Yeah, because it was in the Clone Saga, right? To
Well,
kill
the
him.
original Clone Saga. Okay, I should let you know, Dibs, usually when people groan about the Clone Saga, it's technically the revival Clone Saga in, the 90s-ish era, essentially. But technically, the Clone Saga started way back early with the Jackal and the original Spider-Man clone.
Because in terms of my experience with the Punisher, aside from the Netflix series, I've seen the 2004 film with Thomas Jane and John Travolta, which was fine, and I saw Warzone, which was shit.
I have seen neither of those.
The general consensus that I heard is I did see a bit of the first movie, just a bit, not that much. But the general consensus that I already heard is that the 2004 movie is the best of them, and even then, it's still not potentially that great as an adaptation. Everything else done after it, aside from a Netflix series, sucks.
I haven't seen those movies yet, but I'm not surprised that they were one of the first Marvel movies tried out around the time, because Punisher is, well, there's no other way to put it, he's a lot easier to do than a lot of superheroes in live action.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about the Punisher. As many mentioned, and I kind of agree partially, in a lot of ways he's kind of incompatible with the rest of the Marvel Universe because he's still portrayed as an anti-hero, but more of, on the more heroic side, quote-unquote. The problem is that, he's very ruthless and regularly exterminates cartels left and right, like not having many calls and killing people. And the crossover stories where he appears, he usually tends to be sort of the Knight of Cerebus type of figure, as in the one that makes shit go real very fast. Die in your own blood, bravery. And here's one of his villains, Bonebreaker. Yes, that is an actual. That's his actual design.
That is a guy who is essentially the centaur equivalent of a man fused with a tank, it seems.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, he's more associated with the X-Men, if I remember correctly. But basically, he lost the lower part of his body and was fused with that tank.
You know,
again, comic books.
Let's not think about how he does certain everyday activities while losing his bottom half and replacing it with a tank.
Yeah, there you go. But again, like you said, while on their own, the rounds of the Punisher are pretty enjoyable on their own if you like that kind of, vigilante that, shoots down cartels. Like, again, your typical John Wick type of story,
I will say
modern equivalent. When it comes to the Marvel Universe at large, even to the most closest equivalent, the heroes for hire, so Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, the Punisher still sticks out like a sore thumb. They even made it as a point an entire what-if scenario in which he kills the entire Marvel Universe because of this.
And God, that was silly. Although, speaking of silly, yes, Punisher was still allowed to have one-liners. This is because I will give this about the 90s. I feel like the 90s were still allowed to be fun. Like, okay, I've mentioned before that the 90s and the 2000s were both relatively edgy. However, if there's one thing I've noticed, especially in comics looking back, is that they were different types of edge. Let me put it like this. The 90s was more so about, oh, look at how badass and cool these guys can be. Ho-ha! That sort of stuff. While you could still allow some over-the-top stuff. The 2000s, and mind you, this is not a uniform thing, but there's one thing I've noticed looking at the 2000s with stories like Identity Crisis, or Amazon's Attack, or, God help me, Civil War, or...
Amazon's Attack was... Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
Amazon's Attack... go on.
Hold on, Drova. We're about to get the liners. Bonus stage. Basically, it's break the target, but with barrels. Go on, Drova.
But yeah, if there's one thing I've noticed with 2000s, especially early 2000s stories, it's like, well, see, whereas 90s were edgy, but still, remember to mostly have it be about how badass the characters could be in spite of stuff, the 2000s felt like it was edgy in the sense of, hey, let's have a lot of these terrible things happen just to show you how more serious they are.
That voice line, I did it!
Death on rails.
They got a huge poppy field and a mobile factory, all in one underground cave in Arizona.
Okay.
Let's throw a little wrench in the Kingpin's plans.
So he's gone from New York to Florida, back to New York, and now to Arizona. Okay.
I mean, he's versatile.
It's the Punisher Sonic the Hedgehog.
Got avenged fast. But yeah,
his speed is powered by vengeance.
Yeah, more fitting. Again, the one thing that I really wish this version had, that a couple of Capcom's re-releases actually did have, like the Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em up had, would be online co-op. Again, it kind of really fits, and it's like a sore thumb the fact that I can only play as one character in this. I don't know if it's locally habilitated, but definitely not online.
Unfortunately, this collection was not outsourced to Digital Eclipse. It was made internally at Capcom, apparently. And if it was Digital Eclipse, they would have put an online co-op like they recently did with the Colorado collection. But I guess Capcom is just not interested in that.
Again, it's only because this is the only, single-player game, technically focused single-player game, All the others are just fighting games, so I get the idea why focusing the online aspects on those being a priority. Another thing that you may notice is the lack of the typical, things we will see in arcade back then, the flashing, because one selling point of his collection was actually having the quality of life option of actually turning that off. Even so slightly if possible, so you can bet your ass that I did it. Even if it doesn't enter me, I find it shit still annoying, so might as well.
I mean, nobody seems to really like the flickering safer unless you want to maintain how the original felt, anyway.
I get the idea, like I said, Joe, I theorize that I get the idea back then on the arcade monitors it worked technically a bit better, since it was a bit more a contained screen and you could look away, but as demonstrated by even the Simpsons gag, even on a regular CRTV, those were not really, something you could not notice. So I don't know what. And even recently, Masahiro Sakurai did mention that he has a nostalgic feeling about those, so it might genuinely be a cultural thing.
So while the changes would probably be minuscule, I have to wonder, do you get a slightly different narrative if you're playing as Nick Fury?
That's what you're gonna see in the next part, because I bothered to actually beat an entire other playthrough with Nick Fury, but I only collected basically only the parts where he speaks, so it doesn't get clogged too much. I still made an entire part, I still have a part unedited about this run, but that's not the one we're commenting on, just for the sake of showcasing the entire thing for
That's
the audience.
That being said, does Nick Fury play different, or is it pretty much the exact same?
No,
moves?
he's a Shoto clone. Surprisingly, because usually beat 'em ups back then did give characters different special moves, and incentivizing you to play them. But not in this case. You play it's a case where the characters play identically. So it's not like in Final Fight or Streets of Rage.
I'm actually kind of surprised they bothered to include him. Granted, I'm guessing there was a co-op nature in the original game?
Yes,
Yeah,
as you can
okay.
see, the free play join in serves for you to join at any point. So there's that.
Yeah. So I guess, if anything, go with, Nick Fury, who was relatively recognizable at the time, I'd say.
Well, yeah, pretty much. And it's worth noting that it was still very popular. It was only that because of the MCU using actually Samuel L. Jackson because of, what happened with the Ultimate Universe. But now the old design of Nick Fury, the actual Caucasian one, has kind of, went out of style. Recently, the new Ultimate Universe actually brought him back for that, so as a sort of a subversion.
Which
so technically, there is a bit of reproposing, so there is that. So we'll have to see how that works.
It's funny also because, they like Samuel Jackson Nick Fury so much that they gave 616 Nick Fury a son, Nick Fury Jr., who is essentially the Samuel Jackson Nick Fury.
Well, remember, Jova, it was part of the comics in order to, try to be more similar to the movies since they were popular. Oh, here's another enemy. Welcome, Porsche, or aboard the Devil's Crest. This guy is called Bushwhacker. His stick, he can modify one of his arms, for it to become a cannon.
A triple cannon by the looks of it.
Again, comic books.
Love them.
Like he said, I think this guy is also associated more with the X-Men, because if I recall correctly, Wolverine had a lot to say about him in relation to mutants. But again, these are generally people that I don't know that much. I only did, my research superficially, just to search who was actually based on a comic book character and who wasn't. Speaking of which, the Marvel database actually listed this game as, in the same continuity of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, which led to the big question, which me and Deji actually pondered. With all these elements, why wasn't the Punisher included in any of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, since they had a perfectly good sprite to recycle and an entire moveset that it could base around? And as Dechi told me, pointed out, they cannot even use the excuse of, he's a guy with the realistic guns, it might be a problem, because, Jill Valentine in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 uses them, and, they managed to make it work. So I really don't know what happened. It might have been just a licensing issue, because it really feels like they had all their work, cut very close with this.
Like, it even feels like they were hinting at it. Like, some of these enemies legit look like rejected Street Fighter guys, and hell, one of those guys literally looks like Ryu. The one with the headband that we saw earlier.
I don't remember what year was it, X-Men Children of the Atom. It wasn't that far from this, but I don't remember if it was before or after. Remember, that was the one that started it by having Akuma as a secret character unlockable.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Ow.
I didn't get to say your plans have been derailed.
Also, developers, you probably should say stage 4 clear instead of 4 stage clear.
Oh, we're gonna get also classic typos later. Don't worry, Pedro.
Oh boy. Oh shit! Ah!
It's a pillow jumping away from an explosion. Jova?
The Punisher has caused me enough damage. Find where he's hiding and bring me his head.
Someone's here already.
Basically, it was a registration that he saw A funny fun, you Punisher.
Those guys were strong enough to smash
let
through
me
that
run.
wall.
They're very thick, I
But
guess.
not strong enough to withstand the bullets.
Yeah, again, Jova, the only in this kind of war, I only need 2 friends, Smith and Wesson.
Yes.
I also love that they try to desensitize a bit the violence by having all the comic book sound effect,
Blam,
with
blam,
each.
blam.
Yeah, it's not on the level of Batman the Animated Series, but it's still cute enough. Also, for this level, yes, we're in a sewer, deal with it. You pay attention to the water because, as you can see, the enemies actually do leave, a shadow sort of by standing in there. But if you see a puddle like that, that means it's an item that you can collect.
Imagine being one of the goons, willing to wait in literal sewage just to try and sneak up on the Punisher, only to die for your troubles.
I mean, they have good company. Look at all the cute mice.
Or rats, but yeah. I mean, that's dedication, but it's gotta really be a crappy death.
This is. So I don't know about this one, guys. It's too sewery for me.
No, honestly, when it comes to the aesthetic, this is very this is over before you know it. Doesn't have any particular gimmick to it. If I remember correctly, the first stage of the Sega Genesis version of the TMNT beat 'em up started with a sewer level because it was the game that I remember one of my neighbors actually playing during that time where they had the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive as it was called. There you go. Which does remind me, this game actually did receive a Genesis Mega Drive port, but for this collection they actually just bothered with the arcade version, which honestly might as well.
Crystal Dynamics were working on a PS1 version of this game, but it got cancelled.
Oh, I didn't know that. Weird.
As for that one, I don't know whether it was actually Crystal Dynamics themselves or their Toys for Bob team that were, called Crystal Dynamics as well.
Idols was very prolific at the time, so it doesn't surprise me too much.
Shame, I like seeing these ports of 16-bit games on PlayStation with a 32-bit CD quality soundtrack.
Especially because, again, it's kind of like with, what's it called, like Mickey's Adventures, which was Mickey Mania on the Genesis, but now the de facto, version is the PlayStation 1 version to play. So.
Yeah, there's also Mega Man X3.
And also, okay, while the game was created for the PlayStation 1, you can make an argument that also, Castlevania Symphony of the Night takes full advantage of that because it has only a few relatively little 3D objects. Everything else is actually sprite-based, so it can have, can get all the extra content.
Yeah, I'm seeing. This was developed internally at Capcom, so that probably explains why there's no rewind.
No, actually, there's no rewind, but there's a quick save feature, so you might as well use that.
Oh well, that's like the most basic standard for collections like these. I would expect it to be there, definitely.
And honestly, considering, like I said, most of these is just fighting games with only this is the beat 'em up, I can kind of see also why we wouldn't, focus that much on that.
Sure.
I will say, however, that the achievement system is actually very generous because it allows you, it allows you to earn, the stuff that you do at any level of difficulties, and even if you're using cheats.
These collections, they typically have incredibly easy. Like for example, the Cowboy collection. I'm not kidding you. The only trophies you have for that is complete each individual game. That's it. You don't have. There's no condition. Just complete it. You don't even have to actually play the gangster. You can just use the autoplay function and join in for playing right at the very end. Like you can easily platinum Cowboy collection in less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
It's literally the modern equivalent of that Avatar: The Last Airbender Xbox 360 game that a lot of people. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's like a famous 360 Avatar game that like you can get like I forgot how much gamer score it was, but like you can literally get all the achievements for that game in like 10 minutes if you know what you're doing.
I didn't know that.
So, but the point is, to like most of these collections have incredibly easy achievements. Like for example, the Lion King and Aladdin collection, the Disney one, right? That one also is incredibly easy. I think it's just like complete the games I make. Let me recheck. No, there are specific tasks you have to do as well, aside from completing the games, but they're like incredibly easy to do.
Yeah. Seriously, Shimomura's influence in this is so more, noticeable that he actually knew.
Yeah.
And honestly, as a result, the soundtrack of this is actually quite memorable. Sure, of course, don't get me wrong. Yuzo Koshiro's works for Streets of Rage is still, highest degree to me when it comes to beat 'em up. But target confirmed, terminate immediately.
Oh no, a recolor!
No, don't you see, Jova? It's not Guardroid. It's Guardroid 2.
You know what's fun? You can't go wrong with Yoko Shimomura. It's just that.
It's just that again, because we're so used to her RPG contribution these days. Her scoring for a beat 'em up just feels very weird in comparison.
Well, this, like we said, this is where she started.
Yeah.
So if anything. Here's a fun fact about Yoko Shimomura's early time when she started trying to when she was younger and before she became a composer proper, she actually didn't consider herself all that good at the piano. Can you imagine that? Yoko Shimomura thinking that she's not that good at the piano. That's one of the biggest oxymorons I've ever heard.
Also, if you notice, when you actually have almost no health left, when you actually press for the Lariat equivalent attack that consumes your health, instead the Punisher throws one of his grenades and then ducks for cover. That's basically the game giving you an alternative without consuming your health.
That's player friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
5 stage clear.
That would be like if Jun Tsunoe said, back when I was a kid, I didn't think I'd be very good at playing the guitar.
Yeah.
It's like those origin stories for new movies where the character does the opposite, that you will think. It's time for vengeance.
Taste my vengeance. Kingpin, your luck's finally run out.
You missed an apostrophe there, dude.
All right, final stage, final punishment.
Awesome.
I know he's hiding somewhere in this hotel. It ends for you tonight, Kingpin. I swear it.
It's really called the King Hotel. No, basically, that's his entrance instead. There you go.
There you go, Dibs. You found your favorite Marvel character.
This version of the Punisher, he just goes crazy and kills everybody he sees. Although I noticed
I'm the best superhero.
I mean, that's not really that far away from the truth. So.
Okay, to be fair, as far as I know, the Punisher does have a "I don't kill innocent people" code. So
yeah.
Yeah.
He still has a moral code, but like he said, it compared to the average, character in the Marvel universe, it really does feel skeevy, especially if it's handled by people like Mark Millar.
Also, I love how at the top it says Cap and then a big number. Like, so what is Cap involved in this game?
It's the name of the arcade cabinet, the code name, basically.
No, I get what it is, but normally you don't put that on the top of the gameplay. It's weird. Like, I mean, the Final Fight games don't do that. Like,
I don't know.
Don't do that. It's weird. Like, it feels like an oversight where it was there during the beta phase, but they forgot to remove it.
There you go. So yeah, final stage, and I can tell you that, I will say this, you'll be able to hear it properly, but this stage probably has instead the more, not somber or quiet, but more, relaxed down type of music. You would think that since it's the final stage, it actually tries to be more grandiose, more kind of like what Metal Slug does,
Thank you, Not Wayne Knight.
it literally has a Metal Slug literally has a track that is called the Final Assault. That is basically supposed to be like the big, one that showcases how the greater scope is of the final level. But this instead is a bit more quiet technically compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah, seriously,
so-
Wayne Knight was the best part
Yes.
of.
Yes, Pedro.
Yeah. Looking at this game over / continue screen too, like clearly he should have been the one to try to save Priscilla instead of Cloud. I mean, he revives the Punisher super instantly fast. That's some amazing CPR right there.
Yes, it
And he does.
is.
It's not even that much CPR. It's just the normal compressions. So I guess in the case of a game over, the Punisher or Nick Fury do have get an heart attack. I guess.
By the
Like I said,
way,
too.
Because I'm
Like
sure
I said-
chest compressions will save you from being shot.
by the way,
Like I
it
said,
will.
Theo, he's just that good.
By
Yes,
the way,
Jova.
it will probably please you to know that this game takes place in Earth 30847,
Like I said, it's the same continuity of the Marvel vs. Capcom games.
which
So,
makes it
again,
all the more weird that Punisher didn't make it into them.
I don't think he even it was not even a cameo as one of Yancey's character from the early Marvel vs. Capcom games. Nor, if I recall correctly, he doesn't even show up in the endings of the characters. So I don't know what happened. All right, time to get the elevator. But yeah, it's also it is a good reminder again. I still enjoy the fact that Marvel canonizes practically everything, even the smallest minutia that you think is not really worth it, like
The rides.
you mentioned the rides. My mind comes immediately instead to the Hostess Twinkies commercials. Yes, those are technically a continuity of their own. Again, it's part of the charm, Also, this particular enemy with these guns is called Jigsaw. Okay.
Well, I know Jigsaw was a villain in Warzone.
That's him.
Yeah, he looked. He was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, this one again. That's the thing, Dweebs. This game seems to have a better understanding because it uses the actual comic book design. While the movies, since were done in the early 2000s, onward, they were that kind of classic design, the classic mentality of let's make the character look different because the comic book designs are too silly.
Well, that's the thing though. It wasn't the early 2000s. That was 2008.
Well, still part of the 2000 waves. You know what I mean? We got stuff like that in stuff like Blade, the first Ghost Rider. Again, I can tell you that Blackheart doesn't look as wimpy as he does in that movie, for example. I have no idea what they did with him there.
Weird.
Alright, now we're using the... I don't even know what part of the hotel is this supposed to be? Like a boiler machine room?
Seems like
The
it's a big
Punisher.
boiler room.
The Punisher, man of vengeance, and the stealer of their property.
Also, in case you're wondering, Jova, no, those mechanical enemies that have been showing up since stage, 3 or 4, they're not Steeltmen. Thank God they're not Steeltmen. But they're called like Pretty Boy and Pretty Face. I'm pretty sure they're also creation for this game only. They're particularly bastard because they have that grab attack that you might have seen, and they tend to explode both with their heads and their bodies whenever they're killed. So you need to watch out. Again, that's another thing. Similar to Streets of Rage, the enemies react in different ways to your attack. For example, it might have been difficult to spot, but the ninja enemies, the girl with the katana, deflect your bullet. So if you're in gun mode, you cannot actually arm them. Well, actually, that's pretty neat, for you to spice up your attacks or watch out or take out enemies first.
Yeah.
Come on, Pedro.
Does do the Avengers beat 'em up that we commented on a few years ago, as well as the X-Men one, also take place in this universe?
Not that I know, because those were not... Okay, the Avengers one is not by Capcom anyway, but...
yeah, true, you're right.
The Capcom did one X-Men beat 'em up. It's called Mutant Apocalypse, but I don't know if it takes place in the same continuity. The traditional beat 'em up that everyone remembers, the one with Magneto saying, "I am Magneto, master of magnetism." That's from Konami instead.
Okay.
I actually haven't researched there, but it might be just another continuity altogether. The X-Men have a lot of video games aside from the Capcom ones.
Yep.
And I don't mean just stuff like Wolverine and Adamantium Rage. Now that's a bad beat 'em up if I ever remember one.
Yeah, I'm hoping Digital Eclipse's Power Rangers beat 'em up gets a release date soon.
Alright, time to confront the Kingpin finally. We're actually literally blowing away from the ceiling.
Oh, so we must have been up in the attic then.
Java?
Your ridiculous little vendetta ends now, Punisher.
It's all over, Kingpin. You're through.
You're through.
You're through.
And they even linger on the text.
Brilliant.
Oh, wait, the text is automatic. Shoot.
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, I missaid that. Can I say that again?
Nope, no take-backs.
So yeah,
Fine.
your final boss is the Kingpin. I can tell you, okay, like you said, first of all, the final boss theme, like you said, is very somber, almost sinister. For the final grandiose boss fight, it almost feels dissonant, but it's not that bad either. So it has that kind of quality that is mysterious, that you're not sure what to expect, but it's still like having a good time. And
It's like sorry, bro.
and as expected by final boss in a beat 'em up, the Kingpin is cheap as all hell. He can beat you up, actually grab you, slam dunk on you, breathe from his cigar, don't ask, and his stuff has a laser attached to it.
Okay, believe it or not, the laser cane is something that's always been with him, and you know what? Kingpin is one of the best examples of how they made him more serious, but still kept some of the silly stuff.
Well, it's part of the speech I was saying in Spider-Man Shattered Dimension. Where you're in a universe like the one of the Marvel universe, and you're a regular gangster, you kind of have to adapt or just pass off as a laughing stock.
And Kingpin
Yeah.
understands
I
that
love
lesson more than anyone else.
Yes, Pedro.
I love how the gangsters are called Bogart. But
I also like the fact that they laugh whenever you're knocked down. Go on, Pedro. Sorry.
But that's remember too, like this is the same. Like she also composed one of my all-time favorite final boss themes, Vector to Darkness. For those who don't remember, the final boss theme from Kingdom Hearts days.
That one still feels grungy.
Plenty of people have made a lot of musical analysis of it, talking about how he mixes so many tracks from.
That is true, but I would make an argument that one does feel more grandiose, still like a culmination. This one, again, like you said, this one feels like it would be present for a regular stage rather than the final boss. Jesus. And yeah, in case you're wondering, the weird proportion by having the Kingpin's head being, small compared to the rest of his body, that's still, comic book accurate, because the guy is literally just that kind of mountain of muscle, that his head is the only part of his body he could not train to that degree.
Again,
Yeah, well, I have seen live
Devils
action versions of the
2003.
Kingpin. Yeah, I've seen Michael Clark Duncan. I've seen the one from the MCU now, I guess.
Yeah. Alright, we're about to get to the ending.
Oh boy.
So
I'm here to punish you.
If you played only as the Punisher, as you're about to see, after I collected all the items, the game remembers that Nick Fury is supposed to show up, believe it or not. There he is, Pedro.
Oh no, the whole building is gonna blow.
Damn, we've got to get out of here.
By the way, who are you?
Good night, fat boy.
That's his physical appearance.
That line wouldn't fly.
And yeah, in comparison, I love this credit theme. It's so energetic. The final issue is up to Midwaves. As the Kingpin faced his final defeat at the Punisher's hands, the King's building, its support structure badly damaged, collapsed, its dying echo reverberating through the city like the anguish roar of an exorcised demon. With his defeat as the King's building collapsed, the King's Emperor seen the But for the Punisher, while the battle is being won, the war goes on. For him, there is no rest of the war until there is no left.
Until there's no Evil left to fight.
A war he can never really win, it doesn't matter, for he's a man, he's accepted his fate. That night, the Punisher vanished into the dark, melting back into the shadows to stalk its prey. The next morning, the police searched through the rubble of the King building. They found over 294 ex-criminals, the one that I actually beat up, but they could not find anybody that could be entered as a kingpin. Vengeance burns eternal.
Ooh.
And yeah, the credits
The
are
Punisher.
the credits
Yes,
are the King.
we have saved the day from evil.
The credits are the Punisher and the Nick Fury blasting the credits. This is so cool.
Beautiful.
But yeah, in case you're wondering, the game kept a tab on how many enemies I've killed in this specific final stage and used that for the credits. So that's actually a pretty way to say, how much stuff you did. Again, and that can be summed up for this entire game. I'll leave the final thoughts properly for the next part because the credits are not that long. But honestly, this, like you said, this is one of the most engaging and funniest beat 'em up to play. Not funny because it's hilarious, but just fun to play. Despite having the simple mechanics, it really is a good time. If you ever purchase or get the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, I argue that you really should give a try to this one.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, even with that kind of level of difficulty, I've used like 8 continuous stops. I could have potentially limit myself if I wanted. So it's not even that particularly hard, even knowing what you do.
It seems like one of those games where,
and all Capcom staff.
Scott?
What they said. But yes, it certainly seems to be an arcade game of the times, but one of the enjoyable ones.
Do we really have to shoot?
And we end with an actual photo of New York digitized.
There you go. That's what it's all about.
As a put in your initials, Tio.
Yeah, I did not do it. Again, I don't particularly care. Thank you for playing. And I got first for the score. Cool.
Well done, Tio. You're the champion of this arcade game.
I can tell you that if I was, the proper age back in 1993 when the game came out, I probably would have definitely loved it, back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, technically that's it for this. Tune in for the next part, which is the only other one, where we see the variations of a line with Nick Fury, and instead we skim through the extras, as in mostly the concept arts made for this game. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.